Hello students, we are going to discuss about the last bit from the machine learning elective 3 subject, that is deep learning and convolutional neural networks. Okay, so it's assumed that right now you are aware about the complete machine learning themes and machine learning contents, and also you are aware about the basics of the neural network, how neural networks works. Now beyond that, now we are going to discuss about the next higher level part, which is the deep learning. This is syllabus for topic improvement over the normal network with respect to deep neural networks, with respect to vanishing gradient and overfitting, and what is computational load. Also we are going to discuss about the rectified linear unit ReLU functions. Then there is a dropout architecture. What is the advantage of dropout architecture, that we are going to discuss. Then convolutional layers are available, so how the convolutional neural layers are formed, and what is the mathematics behind them, that we are going to discuss. And then uh, pooling layer, and how to apply that pooling layer to find the final neural network which is based on convolutional system. And finally the applications based on the CNN. Okay, so let's start. So already you are aware about the mechanism to distinguish between the cats and dogs. Okay, so if I want to distinguish between cat and dog, how we can do? This is a simple example here. One mechanism is shown where some images are shown as a sample. So if I want to teach a child that how the cat looks like or how the dog looks like, what we will look for? Yes, we will look for some features. So here some features will be available, like the shape of the nose, the size of the ear, etc, etc, location of the nose, then the particular difficult systems, etc. Okay, now based on these features, now we are giving those features to train the model. And now once the model is trained, we are going to test the model. Okay, so the basic process is nothing but take the two output categories which you want to distinguish, collect the multiple images from these two categories, bifurcate them into testing dataset and training dataset, then extract some features from these particular systems. And once the feature has been extracted, now train your model. Okay, so according to this nature, complete system is going to design. Now next part. So what is first step? Yes, the first step is nothing but here we are going to collect the data. So collect as many as possible number of pictures, okay, of the basic these two classes. Then design the features. Yes, we are going to extract some features. So what we call as a feature, anything which describes the particular image or particular object which is a distinguish, that called as a feature. For example, color, size, then ear size, nose, etc. Okay, there is some basic difference between the particular typical features and regular features. So if I go with the number of legs as a feature, will it be helpful? No, because number of legs to cat and to dog are equal to 4. So if I took that feature, definitely it is not giving me a particular distinguishing classifying feature mapping. Okay, so select the features in such a way that those are definitely giving me a particular category criteria. Okay, now according to the feature space, if I go in detail, now check the size and shape. So x-axis is showing me a nose size of the dog, and y-axis is giving me an ear shape of particular class. Okay, so if the nose size is small and ear shape is pointy, whatever the animals are available will be probably classified as a cat. If the nose size is big and the ear shape is round, whatever the classification is happening probably will be giving that as a dog. Okay, so this is the particular mapping of the feature space. Training. So once we are having the data, we will give the data to our training model to the system, and now this system is going to design according to your needs. Now here if you look carefully, there is a one fine line has been generated. Okay, so that line might be with respect to a machine learning mechanism or deep learning mechanism. So if I go with the machine learning mechanism, which method will be suitable over here? Yes, I can go with the SVM, support vector machine, which classifying the two classes with respect to different features. Okay, now testing. Once my model is trained, now I want to test the data set. So to test the data set, what we will do? To test the data set, we will take some new images which are completely new images, and we will put those images to the testing model. And if that model gives me a proper idea, proper justified output, means my model is completely trained. Okay, so how to define the results? Result will be in this fashion. Okay, so identification of the feature represents our test images using the train model. Here the model shown is a linear model. If you look the line distinguishing the system, it's a linear model. Okay, now there is one dog which has been misclassified. This a particular dog has been misclassified. So why it is misclassified? Because according to features, his nose size is small and his ear is pointy, hence it has been classified as a dog. But this is wrong. Actually it has to classify as a dog, it has classified as a cat. Okay, so this is an issue. So how to overcome on such issues? To overcome on such issues, we have different options. So these are the three different methods to overcome on the deep neural network mechanism. So what are those methods? First method is the vanishing gradient, second is the overfitting, and third is the computational load. Okay, so these three methods we are going to discuss in next slides. First, vanishing gradient. So what we call as a vanishing gradient? Vanishing gradient is nothing but, in vanishing gradient I can go with the a particular problem. For example, if the model that we want to train, which will be having the different weights, now to achieve the desired weight parameters, what I will do, I will train the model. So while doing the training, if I found the gap between the actual weight and the calculated weight, then the model will adjust these weights in such a way that they will slowly gradiating, slowly changing with respect to his value to the next nearby smallest value. If it is matches with the particular value, it's fine. If not, again take some small gradient and change the value to the desired level, lowest one, and so on. So in this way, a step by step value is going to change. That is nothing but we are calling it as a gradient, change in the gradient. Now there are two approaches. If I go with the shallow network, shallow stands for what? I have very few layers. But if the layers are few, there is no any big problem. But if there are number of layers more, then it can cause the gradient problem. So gradient will be too small to train the data very effectively, because number of points are very small. Hence, as more layers are there, the gradient change will be appearing approaches nearby to the zero. Okay, hence it is making the network train very hard. So it's very difficult to train the network if the more layers are present. That is nothing but value we are calling as the vanishing gradient problem. Now there is also another issue with respect to back propagation method. So what we call as a back propagation, this is my x input, this is my output. Okay, so in order to come from input to output, there are some hidden layers. So these are the hidden layers, h1 and h2. These are the hidden layers. So what we will do, according to the output, the hidden layers are going to change their weight parameters. But here the error hardly reaches to the first hidden layer, the weight cannot be adjusted. Why? The output closest to that output, that layer only get the modifications or modified values, but beyond that he is not going to reaching to the particular level. Hence these nodes will be remaining as an unchanged nodes. So this is an issue. So how that is going to change with respect to sigmoid function? Yes, we are using the sigmoid function. What is role of sigmoid function? It's an activation function. So what is the role of activation function? If the value, certainly if I want to classify, I can give him a certain threshold. If values above certain threshold will be considered as a 1. If value is below certain threshold, considered as a 0. Okay. Now if I go with the sigmoid function, in sigmoid function it squashes the large input space into smaller input space. Okay, largest value will be mapped between the 0 and 1. What it means, I have the values which are changing between 0 to 10,000, 0 to 10,000, but using sigmoid what we are doing, a map of 0 to 10,000 which will be converted between only 0 to 1. Hence there is an issue that large change in input sigmoid function will cause the small change in output. Hence derivative of the output will become very small. Hence in above image, if you look carefully, the input sigmoid function becomes larger or smaller when derivative becomes bigger. This is an issue. Okay, hence derivative becomes closer to nearby to 0. Now saturating gradient problem. So what we call a saturating gradient problem? So if you use the sigmoid and tanh after the number of epochs has been trained, the linear part of neuron will have values which are very big or very small. This means that the linear part which have an output value which has the big amount regardless of its sign. Means what? Here if you look carefully, the sigmoid function is used, but what is happening, it is adding some non-linearity functionality. Okay, if you look carefully over here, the values has been changing between either to the smallest one or to the highest one. So a change will be between a very big or very small. This is an issue with respect to saturating gradient problem. Okay, how to overcome on the saturating gradient problem? So here is one sample is shown. If saturating gradient problem is there, what is our formula of sigmoid function? 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus x. Sx is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus x. So suppose that you have linear part and input of sigmoid is a positive number which is too large, then sigmoid function is nothing but e raised to x divided by e raised to x plus 1. Now sigmoid function is available but near to smaller than that. So how to change that factor? So on other hand, 1 minus s will be become close to 0. So multiplying s and 1 minus s will result to the very small. Why? S is higher value and 1 minus is the smallest value, which means that value gradient which will be definitely very small. Change is happening which is very small. Okay, why? What is derivative of 1 upon 1 plus e raised to minus x? S into 1 minus s. Hence there is a change which is happening very slowly, which is nothing but negligible. Okay, now again multiply this value will definitely going to lead towards the low value. This is the gradient problem. Have you understood this part? Okay, now next part, why earlier layers of networks are so important. What we call the earlier layers? If you go for the deep neural network, in deep neural network, from input to output there are some hidden layers, and hidden layers are nothing but to the nearest to output we are calling as the earlier networks. Okay, now earlier networks are important because they are responsible for learning and detecting the actual sample patterns, which are nothing but we call them as the building blocks. Yes, we are calling them as building blocks. Okay, obviously if they give the improper and inaccurate results, then how we can expect the next layers will become a compute properly with respect to network. Okay, so how to overcome this issue? Yes, on overcome on the this issue, that early layers are having importance, but apart from that other layers are not giving you a proper change in the values. So how to overcome this issue? This issue we are going to overcome with respect to an alternative activation function, which is nothing but rectified linear unit, so which doesn't cause the change in the small derivative. Even the value of s into 1 minus s is going to change it, we are completely eliminating the sigmoid function. The itself function will be changed with respect to rectified linear unit. Okay, now ReLU. So what is ReLU? Rectified linear unit is used over here as a most used activation function, okay, in the world right now. So it is known as the better transmit error than the sigmoid function. Why? Because it's a steady, pretty forward example, pretty forward. So if the value of x is going to rectified when the input is greater than 0, and always will be changed to 0 if input is less than or equal to 0. So whatever value we have will be going to between the 0 to x. Okay, since it is the almost used in all convolutional neural networks, it produces the zero or negative inputs conveyed by the output for the positive. So value which is less than 0 will be always 0. If value is in negative form will be also treated as 0, but value which is at the positive end will be treated equal to input itself. Hence the value we are taking or getting is the completely linear factors, linear value. Okay, this is an example. So if the value to the input is a 0, will be considered as 0. If the value to the input is a -1, even it is considered as a 0. Okay, but if value is equal to 1 to the input will be 1 to the output. If value to the input is a 3, value will be output to the 3. Okay, so it's a completely linear from 0 to onwards. Okay, so rectified linear function does not exert any limit if the function returns to 0 if it receives to negative factor. These are the negative values. Okay, next. So by considering these rectified linear units, still there are different units, those we can use over here as activation functions. So what are those activation functions? First is the identity, then binary step, logistic, or tan age, arctan, and ReLU. These are the few activation functions. Okay, you can just go through the values and use them as per your requirement. Next part, overfitting. So what do we do mean by overfitting? The reason is that once your deep neural network is particularly learned, might be having some vulnerable to the overfitting. So what we call as overfitting, if you have a limited range of data, but completely, even though your model has been trained, again you are making it to learn again and again to the individual input points. Hence, if you go with the normal mechanism, if you have less data and less weights, might be your system will look like an underfitted, which is not giving me a proper aligned data patterns. Second thing is that you have the particular data and you are learning it in so many times that each and every point is a particular point which you are going to try to build on your own case. Hence this is an overfitting example. Okay, so we are not interested for underfitting, we are not interested to have an overfitting, but the desired requirement is to have the a robust or good fit. So which is nothing but it has to draw a proper line where all points will be going come together. Okay, next, how to solve this overfitting issue? So to solve this overfitting issue, we have three options. Either you can increase the number of inputs or number of training samples, first solution. You can go with the regularization factors as L1 and L2, second solution, and third solution is the use of the dropout mechanism. Okay, now next, dropout. So what do you mean by dropout? The most representative solution is the dropout. So what do you mean the dropout? Dropout is very simplest solution. Train only some randomly selected nodes. Okay, suppose in my first network there are 10 nodes, in second hidden network there are 15 nodes. So out of 15 nodes, in first sample or first iteration I will take randomly 5 nodes, in second iteration I will take randomly 8 nodes, and so on. So few nodes will be always I am going to drop. That is the solution, and it is very effective while implementation is not very complex. How some nodes are randomly selected and how other nodes will be representing? It's simply we are making them as to set as a 0 to deactivate them. Just we are deactivating these nodes. Okay, next. Here how the dropout will look like. This is my input node, these are my input samples, and if I give those input sample for training mechanism, it will give me an such a dropout system. So if you look carefully, the dotted nodes are the dropped nodes in the previous training. So this is my first iteration, this is the second iteration. So in my first iteration, if I am dropping this node, probably in second iteration I will consider this node, and what was my previous node, I will drop this node over here. Okay, so dotted are the drop nodes. In this way few nodes we are going to drop out. So this is nothing but due to dropping, what is an impact? A dropout effectively prevents the overfitting. So to overcome on the overfitting, dropout is the mechanism. Okay, now adequate percentage of dropout is approximately what? 50% and 25% of hidden and input layer. So how many nodes you want to drop out? 25% of input and 50% of hidden layer. Are you getting? Yes. Next point, regularization. So what we call as regularization? So in regularization, another method, it's another method to prevail about the overfitting. Yes, what we are discussing about the to overcome on the overfitting mechanism. So we have discussed about the dropout, now we are discussing about the regularization. So under the regularization, what it means? A regularization term which provide the magnitude to the weights and to the cost function. So we are discussing about the cost function, how to overcome on the value with respect to cost function. Okay, the use of massive training data is also very helpful in the potential bias due to the particular data is reduced. Regularization, what it does? Regularization tries to push the coefficients for many variables to 0, hence reducing the cost term. So we are using the mechanism to reduce the cost term. Cost stands for what? To achieve the desired weight levels, we are changing the value between the real and desired. That is nothing but cost factor. Okay, now how the regularization help to overfit, reduce the overfitting? Just take an example here. Now consider neural network which is having the overfitting on the training as shown in the image. Now regularization in machine learning will do the penalization to the coefficient. So if I want to apply the regularization to the machine learning, it impacts the coefficient values. But if I want to apply the regularization to deep learning model, it penalizes the weight matrix. So here these are the hidden layers, these are the hidden layers. Okay, and this is an output layer. So what we are doing, we are adjusting the weights of these output layers, we are adjusting the weight of these output layers in such a way that once the model has been trained, it is going to avoid the overfitting. Okay, now regularization, how to do that? Assume that regularization coefficient is so high that some of the weight matrix are near equal to 0. So it's like a dropout mechanism, but how to do a dropout? There is a particular method. So what the regularization does? Regularization is doing you a particular method in the mathematical form to drop out some nodes. Okay, so how to drop these nodes? It's very simple. regularization coefficient you have to set so high so that some of the weight matrices are nearly changing to the zero. So in this example, if you look carefully, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, these 5 nodes are I am making as a nearly equal to 0. How? By applying the L1 factor or L2 factor as a regularization. Okay, this will result much simpler linear network and simply underfitting of the slight underfitting of the training data. So if you look carefully over here, line as mapped over here, but this line is not giving me particular output. Why? The plus points still appearing on the right hand side, which is then second class, which is an opponent class. Hence network is not overfitting, but now it's underfitting. Now such large values coefficients are not useful. So if I set the coefficient values are very large, it is not an particular best solution because might be it is underfitting the system. Why? It is drawing the linear graph over here. So we need to optimize values regularization coefficients in order to obtain the well fitted model. So how to apply that well fitted model? If the model is well fitted, will be giving me a proper curve in this fashion. So due to proper curve, what will happen? Due to proper curve, I can map my all the points between this line. So we have reduced the issue of overfitting using the regularization term, right? Next, different regularization techniques in the deep learning. So there are two different methods in the deep learning. First is the L1 and L2. Okay, so L1 regularization mechanism and L2 mechanism. So how to use them? A cost function you have to adjust in such a way that it is nothing but cost function is equal to loss plus regularization term. So this update general cost function by adding the another term. So due to the addition of this regularization term, the values of the weight matrices decreases because it assumes that neural network with the smaller weight matrix leads to the simpler model. Okay, therefore it will also reduce the overfitting to quite a level of extent. Now next part, L2 regularization. So in L2 regularization, lambda parameter is added over here. If you look carefully, lambda is added over here. Okay, so cost function is equal to loss plus lambda by 2m into the summation of omega 0. Okay, now weight decay. So L2 regularization is also known as an weight decay, so as it forces the weight to decay towards the zero, not exactly zero but towards the zero. Okay, now L1 cost function is equal to loss plus lambda by 2m into summation of omega. Okay, so L1 penalize the absolute value of all the weights, all values will be absolute. Unlike the L2, weights may be reduced to the zero. Okay, here what is happening? Unlike the L2, the weights may be reduced to 0, but if you look carefully to the L2, it is nearly reaching to 0 but not completely 0. Hence, about the L1, it is very useful when we are trying to compress the model. So whenever there is a need to have a compression, we can use with the L1 regularization. Okay, yes. Now apart from that, now next part is the computational load. So till previous section we have discussed about the overfitting methods and how to overcome on overfitting methods. Now we are discussing about the computational load. So what we call as a computational load? Computational load is nothing but the last challenge is nothing but computational load. So time required to complete the training. So we have the data. Now we want to train the data in such a way that it is going to classify the two objects. So how to train that data? So to train the data, we want to first deploy that on some hardware or a machine or computing machine. So that needs some computational load. So number of weights increase geometrically with the number of hidden layers, which is nothing but will increase the training data. Thus, ultimately requires more calculations. So the more computations on neural networks, longer the training requires. This problem is very serious and in practical development for the convolutional neural networks. For example, if a deep neural network that you want to perform will take a month to train, how many data? it can only be modified only 20 times per year. Okay, suppose you have one model, and if it takes the time to train a month for a data, then if you want to take some modifications again to the same network, how much time it will take? Again a second month, again third month. So nearby, if you go to the check your system, how much time, how many times you can modify your system? 20 times per year, which is a huge time. A useful research study is hardly possible in this situation. So in order to overcome this issue, a new mechanisms are available right now, which are nothing but high performance hardware systems. We are calling them as an GPU, graphical processing units. And although a batch normalization we can apply on these GPUs. Okay. Now, issues with the traditional classification. So if I go with the traditional classification, what was an issue? For traditional classification, digits recognition is the important part. So if I go with the digit recognition or any other part, this is a simple mechanism. Train the data on the input, extract the features from that mechanism. Based on these features, generate the classifier, and based on this classifier, if I again give the new input parameter, according to new input parameter, it will minus the classifier parameters or set of parameters, and whatever the error is generated, error will be given to the system again to retrain the model. So this is a regular mechanism. Okay, now if I go with the a basic difference between the machine learning and deep learning, here is the method. In traditional machine learning, what we are doing, this is an input, a manual person is going to extract the features. Now features will be given to the classification mechanism, and once my features has been trained, now I am able to detect whether it is a car or it's not a car. But in deep learning, it's very pretty easy. I have the input, this is a car, I will just give that input to the car. Now this complete system will be doing his stuff automatically. Means the feature extraction and the classification, both things are happening automatically. And finally, the system will predict that is a car or a not car. So this is the deep learning mechanism. Okay. Why deep learning is so essential, so important? So if I go with the a previous data and current scenario, in current scenario, data available with us is a numerous data. So we are right now living in the big data format. Everyone is having the enough and ample of data. Data means what? You have the internet. On internet you are clicking some images, number of images, and every day gigabytes of images are loaded onto the internet. So those are available on the server. So now what's your role? You have to use that data to take some decisions, and to take some decisions we have now a ample of data. So data might be formed in the images, or it should be in the normal values or anything. So due to change in the scenario, now deep learning is in the boom. Okay. Now deep learning hierarchy representation. So if you check over here, traditional pattern recognition, only feature extractor and classifier. If I go with the unsupervised mid level, in mid level a feature extractor was there, a mid level feature extraction parameter was possible, and then I can do the classification. But for deep learning, everything is happening in the single mechanism. And who is doing that stuff? A single mechanism, and that guy is nothing but a CNN. So where feature extraction is happening, mid-level feature extraction is happening, high-level features I am going to trace out, then classification happening over here, and finally a single system will be going to produce, that is an CNN, convolutional neural network, deep learning mechanism. So this same thing is shown over here. If it's a deep, what do you mean by deep? Deep is nothing but if the number of stages are more than one, we are calling this as a deep learning. Okay, so for this example, the car is given as the input. First it is detecting a low level features. What we call as low level features? Here the edges, So all the edges are detected as the low level features. Okay. Now once the edges are detected, I can go for the mid level features. What we call as mid level features? A particular details. For example, circular car is there, then some shapes are there. Those are calling as a mid level features. Then high level features. So what we call as high level features? The mesh, the type of the tire, the front end, etc. These are the high level features. So whatever the layers we are adding, each layer is defining his own identities, and if I club these all together, will be given as a feature set to the training model. Okay, and this mechanism is nothing but we are calling it as a deep learning mechanism. How deep learning looks like? The deep learning looks like this fashion. So I have the input values, and these are the hidden layers, and all these input parameters are giving as a weight change over here, and all weights are going to learn by themselves, and according to learn weight, I'm expecting the output. So what is output? That will be expected, or that output is defined or predicted using the learn different weights from the hidden layer. So this is an deep learning mechanism. Okay, now why we have to switch to the convolution neural network? These are the examples. So if you look carefully in this image, in the first image, whether the person is looking on the front side or on left side, yet you are completely unaware. It's completely jumbling and confusing. Second image, in second image, whether you're looking for a young lady or she's an old lady, completely confusing. In second image, it's an illusion. Okay, so even though normal eye can predict she's a girl, but if you put this image to the machine where already it's trained to detect the face, definitely it will give me a wrong answer. Okay, so these are the complications. So even though I have trained my models with respect to machine learning, due to such complicated images, it is not able to predict it properly. Now examples from the test set. So if I go with the normal image, here in first image it is a cheetah, in second image this is a train with some particular area, and in third image definitely you are not going to understand that part. Okay, whether it is a stethoscope or it is a telescope or it's a lens, definitely you are completely unaware of that. Okay, so even your model has been trained, you can predict the first one, you can predict the second quality itself, but I can't get predict the second one or third one. Okay, so these are the issues or challenges in the normal machine learning mechanism. So in order to overcome on such issues, such a diagrams, such a particular set of examples, probably it's required to go with the deep learning mechanism. Okay, now convolutional neural means what? So convolutional neural network, which is nothing but a deep neural network, a specialized form for the image recognition. So what we are doing in convolutional neural network, a specialization is nothing but we are using the feature extractor. So in the trained feature process rather than a design manually shown as here. Okay, so what we are doing, we have the trained input data where like an image will be as a dog will be given to the system, which is going to extract the features. Now that give me as the input parameters. If new input image has been given, so new input image and the parameters will be giving me an error. This will be an error, and error will be passed to my again new network. It will retrain the data. Okay, now typical architecture of convolutional neural network. So we have the feature extraction network and we have the classification of neural network. So feature extraction and classification makes it as a convolutional neural network. So if you look over here, this is the input image, a dog, which has been given as the input to these two layers, feature extraction and classification. So in feature extraction there are different layers like convolutional layer or pooling layer. Those are coming under the feature extraction, and after feature extraction will be given to the classifier network. Okay, convolutional net having convolutional layer and pooling layer. So what we call as convolutional layer? So convolutional layer implies name converts the image using the convolution operation. So convolution operation used over in the convolution neural network. So it can be thought as a collection of the digital filters. And pooling layer, what it does, it combines the neighboring pixels into the single pixel. Therefore pooling layer reduces the dimension of the image. So I have the big image. From that image I have done the convolutional factors. Now I have reduced image to a desired level, but still that image size is very small or very big. So how can again reduce the size from that mechanism? I can go with the max pooling layer. Okay. Now, architecture of convolutional neural networks. So this is a typical architecture. A digit 2 that I want to classify. First, it has been given to the convolutional layer. So this is the convolutional layer. From convolutional layer, I have applied the max pooling layer. So this is the max pooling layer. From max pooling layer, again we are applying the convolutional layer. Again do the max pooling layer. And once the max pooling layer is applied, put it to the fully connected network. And fully connected network is nothing but applied pixels are flattened in this fashion. Okay, and now we have the complete set of available features. Now use those available features to define the output. So now based on this parameter, this system is going to recognize that whether the digit is given belongs to 2 or what. So if these all patterns are generated in a particular desired fashion, we'll be identifying at the desired input given is a 2. Okay. Now, so convolutional layer, what we have learned, a convolutional layer generates the new input images called as the feature maps. The feature map accentuates the unique features of the original image. So out of the complete image, what is the a summary, what is the gist from that image? Only those points will be captured and taken as a separate. Okay. Now this layer does not connect the weights and weighted sum, but only acts as a convolutional filter. So actual weights are not mapped over here. Only we are just doing the convolutional algorithm on those images. Okay. Now convolutional layer process. So this is the convolutional layer process. We have an input image. We have some separate kernels. So here the another term come as a kernel. So what is kernel? Kernel is nothing but these are the features. Let's say I want to calculate the age. So age will be my one of the feature. I want to calculate as a 45-degree line. This is my second feature. I want to calculate the only a spot or square. So square will be my third feature. So out of this image where the edges are available, I'm just pulling those edges as a separate part. Out of this image where the single line is present, I'm pulling those images or from this image over here. Out of this image, if I want to receive it as a blurred, I can apply the blurred filter over here and blurred image will be available over here and so on. So these are the features. So we are calling these are the feature maps. Okay. Now simple convolution example, how we are applying the convolutional factors. So in convolutional neural network usually comes with the 5 by 5 or 3 by 3 matrices. Okay, even in 1 by 1 matrices. So this is the convolutional neural process. So it filters the actual convolution net and determined through the training process by the many convolution mechanisms. So if I want to apply the convolution, the filter comes in the size of 5 by 5 or 3 by 3 or 1 by 1. Okay. Now how to do convolution? Here is simple example is shown. Suppose I have an image where these are the pixel points 1113464830150224. If I apply the convolution parameter over here, the factor will be calculated over here in such a way that 1 into 1 means this 1 into 1 plus 1 into 0 plus 4 into 0 plus 6 into 1, that is equal to 7. Again stride it from this position to second position. Now instead of having a square from here, the square will be mapped to here. Okay, now square map to here in this fashion. Now what will be my second value? 1 into 1, 1 plus 1 into 0, 0 plus 6 into 0, 0 plus 4 into 1, 1. So 1 plus 4, 5. The value is 5. Correct? So in this way, convolutional neural process will be applied on all the points, and finally step by step I am receiving the complete convolutional parameter feature. Okay, so after applying the convolution on this complete image, I am getting this as a output for this as a kernel. Are you getting? So in this way you have to change this kernel. You have to change this kernel. So once this kernel value has been changed, you have to change this kernel. So once this value has been changed, you can get a number of such a different convolutional parameters. Pooling layer. So in pooling layer, what we are doing? In pooling layer, you have to extract the major values from this convolutional matrices. Okay, so from this matrix you have to just extract the key parameters, key features or key values. Okay, suppose that matrix contains 6 values, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So out of these 9 values, which value is highest one? 9. So you have to just extract that 9 as outside. Okay, now how to do that? The pooling layer reduces the size of the image. So what is the advantage of pooling layer? Yes, we are looking for the size change. So it reduces the size. It combines the neighboring pixels into the certain area. Neighboring pixels are as well usually square matrix. Representative value is usually with respect to two approaches. So if you want to do a pooling layer, the pooling layer will be available into two desired factors. One, either you can take the mean value of that, or you can pull the maximum value from that. So this is to decrease the computational power required for the process. Okay, so data through the dimensional reduction. So we are calling it as a dimensionality reduction. So what is max pooling? Now take a look over here. This is an image where all the images are shown as a cheetah. Okay, now in this image, which parameters you are looking for? Yes, definitely. So if you look carefully in these images, I can immediately get to know that the line nearby to eyes are the key lighting points, highlighting points to identify these images of the cheetah. Okay, hence what I will do, I will simply map these points together and I can pull these factors together. So this is the simple example. So from this an input image, you have calculated the extracted factors. Now from these factors I am applying the max pooling. So what do you know, max pooling and mean pooling? There are two approaches. Take an first example. In this first two values, 1146. Okay, now what is mean of these? 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 4, 6, 6 plus 6, 12. So 12 divided by how many points are there? 4. So 12 divided by 4, 3. Hence the value, mean value we are calculating is 3. Similarly, next part, 1 plus 3, 4 plus 4, 8 plus 4 plus 8, 16. 16 divided by 4, 4. So this value comes as a 4. So in this way, if I apply the mean pooling over here, these are my desired factors that I have received or achieved using the max pooling layer. Okay. Similarly, for max pooling, out of these 4 values, which value is the largest one? 6. Take this as it is. Out of these 4 values, which value highest one? 8. Take it as outside. Out of these 4 values, which value is the highest one? 30. Take it as outside. Out of these 4, which value is the highest one? 5. Take it as outside. This is the max pooling. This is the mean pooling. So according to your requirement, you can use any one of the pooling over here. Okay. Now next part. Max pooling is nothing but it's a mathematical sense which pulls the values from the mechanism. So difference between convolutional layer and the layer is nothing but stationary. A pooling layer compensates the eccentric and tiled objects definitely. And in addition to pooling process, why it is required, our main aim is to reduce the size. Okay, we are changing the size of the data, hence it is beneficial to avoid extra computational load. So also we are using it to prevent from the overfitting, right? This is a simple example. Take a look over here. This is an example of convolutional layer and max pooling. Okay, this is simple example of convolutional layer and max pooling. Next, fully connected layer. So this is a fully connected layer. So at the end you have to detect the all the parameters together. So whether it's a cat or dog, so 1 stands for it's a correctly detected, 0 stands for wrongly detected. It's your role to detect it carefully. Summary on CNN. So I have all these values, apply the filters, find the convolutional layers, apply the pooling, max pooling or mean pooling, find the next layer, do the flattening on those layers. Flattening means what? Suppose you have here 20 values. So out of 20 you have applied the convolutional neural network and you have achieved the 10 values. Now from 10 values you have applied max pooling, you have received the 5 values. Okay, so these 5 values are nothing but in the matrix form, but ultimately we are interested to have them as an one-to-one value. Hence these 5 values are flattened in such a 5 values. So this is my first value, this is my first value, second value, third value, fourth value and fifth value. These are 5 values. So these 5 values are again used over here as a neural network. So are you getting what we are exactly extracting? So all these layers till this part are nothing but only to receive the input points. So if you look the previous slides where we have learned the ANN, artificial neural network, the same thing is given over here, but only the role of CNN is nothing but from the input image extract the X parameters, correct? So X parameters are nothing but coming over here in the yellow circle, and from here onwards it's a normal processed, it's a normally processed A N N artificial neural network, correct? Okay, so I think you have understood the convolutional neural network, and also you have right now understood the steps how the CNN and ANN are combined with each other. Okay, what are the applications? So these are the applications of CNN: image recognition, image analysis and classification, then video analysis, natural language processing, drug discovery, health risk management, checkers game, time analysis, time series management, and so on. These are applications of CNN. When to use deep learning and not over others? So when to use deep learning? First thing, when you have the a large data set, yes, we can go with deep learning, but if you have small data set you can go with the machine learning. A deep learning technique is a high-end infrastructure, so if you have the reasonable amount of infrastructure, you have reasonable amount of data, you can go with the deep learning. There is a lack of domain understanding for the feature representation, so deep learning technique where it's not necessary to know about the each and every feature, doesn't affect anything, just take the images, dump to the desired network, it will do the rest of the stuff for you. Okay, so deep learning is the very useful when you have the data and you doesn't have any idea how to use that data. Okay, now taxonomy of deep learning architectures. These are different architectures: spatial CNN, CNN based some higher end networks, multipath networks, feature map extractions, then ANN based networks, and so on. So these are networks. Just go through the architecture very carefully. LeNet, AlexNet, these are the some of the networks connected, extracted from the spatial domain. Spatial stands for what? a of parameters or value based networks. Okay, so now we are interested to know about the LeNet and AlexNet. Those are the most important first networks desiredly developed on the CNN. Okay, CNN based network, LeNet. So LeNet is nothing but it has been developed by Jan LeCun. So Jan LeCun is the first inventor who has introduced the convolutional neural networks. Okay, and LeCun given as a this network with 5 layers. Okay, and in which year? In 1989. In 1998, convolutional neural network was improved to classify characters in the document recognition. So OCR, optical character recognition, has introduced, they have used the convolutional net into their system. Okay, and where they have used it, probably they have used in the ATMs of the banks where optical character recognition has been required. Okay, now main concern is that whether it has been more popular, not scaled for the higher end task and hand recognition, though it has been possible to recognize the characters in the form of only digits, not the proper characters. Okay, that was the limit of the LeNet network. How the network was developed, it was the first 5 layer network. So layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3, layer 4, and these are the fully connected networks. Okay, so in this way 5 layer network was developed by the CNN based on the LeNet. Enhancement. So though it was popular, there are some issues and there are some challenges. And what was challenges? They has been introduced by the Geoffrey Hinton. So Geoffrey Hinton has given another level network with respect to learning of invariant features. So whatever the features you are using, those should be independent of each other. So these should be invariant to each other. And they have used the concept of max pooling. So using the mechanism of CNN, convolutional neural network, a first big training data has been developed in the 2012 to 2014, and main breakthrough has been developed by the first network, which has been AlexNet. Okay, now what is AlexNet? AlexNet is proposed by Krzyzewski, who has enhanced the learning capacity of CNN by making the deeper by deeper. Okay, and AlexNet has won the first challenge in the 2012 ILSRV challenge. Okay, and what are the features of AlexNet? A feature extraction stages with respect to extended from 5 to 7 layers. So it was based on the 7 layers, and the main drawback is that increase the depth, there is change in resolution. Okay, and hence there is an issue of the overfitting. So AlexNet issue has been mostly with respect to depth for overfitting. Okay, now in order to overcome that overfitting issue, just already we have discussed about that. So how to overcome on this overfitting issue? Yes, we can have the mechanism of rectified linear unit. So Geoffrey Hinton has given another method to overcome on the overfitting with respect to ReLU, rectified linear unit, and he has improved the convergence rate by elevating the problem of vanishing gradient to some extent. Right now, these are the parameters for AlexNet. Simple features, then big model, then 1 million images has been extracted, and first time they have used the NVIDIA's GPU, NVIDIA's GTX 580 GPUs, and trained on 2 GPUs for a week, and better regularization they have used using the dropout mechanism. Okay, this is network of AlexNet. This is a comparison chart between the different available networks: LeNet, AlexNet, VGG, GoogleNet, and so on. So LeNet has been introduced in 1998 and GoogleNet has introduced in 2015. Okay, and now these are the different parts. So main contributions are given. First popular CNN was LeNet. Then first time they have introduced with respect to ReLU and Dropout in the 2012 by Geoffrey Hinton. Then GoogleNet has been first modified new developed architecture with 4 million images. Okay, and that is nothing but GoogleNet, right? And in GoogleNet the depth was up to 22 layers. So from 5 layers to 22 layers they have increased the depth. Applications of deep learning: enormous applications available: object detection, localization, scene classification, scene parsing, modeling, language modeling, image captioning, video summarization, generating authentic photos, image classification, question answering, gaming, and so on. So these are the features. So friends, these are the details that we have discussed using the mechanism to deep learning and other parameters. I hope you understood and enjoyed this session, and in this way we have completed our complete syllabus from the machine learning with respect to all the parameters. Thank you everyone, thank you very much, thank you everyone.